I didn't reboot or anything.
You're not a robot.
I was just dumping out the profound sadness I had for a second. And it's gone.
Okay. It's like when you shut the computer down and turn it back on again, and then everything seems to
clears everything out. Hey,
Okay.
all right, here we go. Let's do this.
I love it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Marketing Team of One podcast, where we have conversations about the issues one-person marketing teams face when trying to meet their goals with limited time and budgets. Now here's your hosts, Eric and Mike. All right, so let's talk about who's your audience, because I think that every marketing topic, every time we talk to clients about marketing, every time, it always begins with this conversation of who is your audience and how do we refine and engineer our messaging directly so that it hits solid with them.
Yeah. Because it's super important.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't know who you're talking to and you just say, as I worked for a large consumer packaged goods company many years ago, they would give me creative briefs that would tell me things like, our audience is male, female, 18 to 65. And that was it. That was the audience.
Yeah.
So that really narrowed it down nicely for me.
Yeah, you really cut off of,
Yeah, I mean, there was maybe
like
4%.
10% of the population, really. Yeah.
So no children and no elderly.
Yeah.
So yeah, like only 85% of the population fits that description. That doesn't count. Sorry. That's not at all. That's not an audience description, right?
Yeah.
So 18 to 35 men and women. Give me an example of like what works better. Like,
I mean, I think if you've got a broad reach, like your target and your brand, you're trying to market things for target, maybe that demographic is okay, right? But they're still not going that broad, right? They've figured out what resonates with the people who like Target as opposed to the people who like Walmart, right? Like there's a differentiation. You're never going to mistake a Walmart commercial for a Target commercial.
That's a good point. Okay.
Right? So you've got these really broad, category thing here, but even in there, you've got these kind of like almost like affinity groups, right? Like Target's probably more like design conscious, they still care about savings, but there's a identity that they see in Target that they might not see in Walmart or something like that, right? And a lot of that goes back to brand, which we talk about a lot, right? But I think for smaller audiences, we're not talking about like brand marketing or anything like that. We're really trying to get to like talking about products and how they help people with their needs or problems.
Very specific needs and problems. Yeah. Not just I'm hungry.
Yes.
But like diving way deeper into the details around that.
Yeah.
Niching down, is that a phrase that is?
I think if your business strategy might already have that kind of established.
Yeah.
If you don't know what your niche is, I mean, that's a good case to back up and like, all right, who is our ideal customer? Ideally, it's all wrapped up in one thing.
Okay.
One nice package. You know who your target audience is, who your ideal customer is, and you've got the product fit for that audience, that customer.
How detailed do we need to get with that? Let's say worst case scenario, women and men 18 to 64. There's a lot more detail we need to fill in there, correct?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think it's so specific to whatever your product or service is, right?
So, okay, let's just take it for an example then, a smaller company. Where might be a good place for them to start to kind of identify who that customer is? They've obviously got a customer base. Where do they begin, though, to kind of help define that further?
I mean, looking at your existing customers is probably I would think is a gold mine for some, for some more data, right? Like at first, ideally you've got a list or a spreadsheet where you know who all your customers are and you know some of the other things because you've been collecting information from them. You know what industry they're in, where are their job titles, what are they, with that customer list could have some gold in there if you're trying to figure out, who is your average customer, let's say. And there might be a mismatch of like who your ideal customer is and who your average customer is. And that could be something that you might need to sort out later. But if you don't have that ideal customer sorted out, starting with your average and figuring out, okay, here's our customers. Here's something that's true for most of them. These are the ones that drive most revenue. Like let's prioritize that and let's dive deeper into that segment of our existing customer base.
So there's like a business case to be made to, here's all your customers. Yes, there's an average customer, but looking at that list then and identifying it, matching up to business goals, then that's where you start to kind of refine down a little bit more to say, look at your audience list and the ones that are not providing the profit or are harder to work with, or just there's a lot of friction around them. Do what you can to maybe not work with them as much as possible and really refine your provider or your client list.
Yeah, I'm assuming those ones that you're talking about are not on the most profitable side of things too, right? Like, so, I mean, looking at your existing list and like, you might have to categorize them too. And it might be better to categorize them, right? But like, I think a lot of businesses, there isn't one true audience. You might have something that appeals to multiple audiences. And so doing that assessment of who they are and getting a clear idea, you'll probably see some patterns emerge that you can then take to do a deeper dive on each one of them.
And then we start to get into, and we've mentioned this before, kind of as we do deeper dive on them. Here's the thing is like a lot of the CRM tools that we use or a lot of the information that we gather from our customers is pretty limited. We don't have, I don't know how many kids a lot of our clients have. I don't know their name. I don't know what their hobbies are. I don't know what their lifestyle is like. I know their email address and their phone number and their position in the company and their name. A lot of times that's a limiting collection of data that doesn't allow us to kind of paint a full portrait of, this is Jill. She's 35. She likes yoga. She does this. She has 2 kids. They play soccer. Like that's a deeper like psychographic outline of a customer that is a lot more challenging to build. But I argue it's probably if you want to spend the time, that might be a good way to get kind of an aggregate collection of one of your customers that you could really target down to very specifically.
But I would argue that if you're small and your budgets and time are pretty tight, that might be kind of, I think you're might be focusing on the wrong details there, right? Like, what they do in their spare time, how many kids, that's probably important for your overall branding and coming up with a vibe that you want people to resonate with. But if you're trying to market a product and trying to sell it, like focusing more on the problems and needs that your customers have would be more effective, because knowing those means that you're unlocking how you can sell your product to them. It's a more direct line. Like I think what you're talking about, it probably has a good space in the brand marketing side of things, where you're not trying to sell something directly or market a specific solution to people's needs.
I see a new model emerging here where here's Sally. She really hates to do these 8 things. Is that maybe a better model to kind of look at?
I think, definitely. I think if you can focus, if you can get deep into the wants, the needs, the problems that your audience, your customers face, and you have those clearly defined, there's so many. Let's say for one problem, there's probably a bunch of different ways you could message how your product can help with that problem. Right. So, and without that problem defined, you might be kind of spinning your wheels, or just, you might get kind of stuck in that, like, hey, here's all the things our product does. And it's a common thing that used to happen. I guess the textbook definition is how Apple compared its features to like Dell. Dell would just say, hey, here's all the stats of all the things we provide. And they weren't showing examples of problems that you could help solve with the computer as much. And so whereas like Apple would be like, they leaned into the creative market and they showed how their computer, instead of like saying, here's all the specs on it, our powerful computers can let you do these amazing, video projects or creative, these
connect
creative projects.
With people.
Yeah. So
don't sell features. That's the model I think that emerged from that whole market, from that philosophy was features are irrelevant. People can't make the connection to why that feature makes a lot of sense for them. They know it might add more money and cost to the product, which is not really what you're trying to say. What you're trying to say is, it might be a little bit more, but we're fixing this and you're now going to have a better life because of X, or whatever this thing allows you to do. Not so much what all these features do, what they cost, and why. You get 3 or 4 levels down the story, and then it's relative. Then it makes sense, which people don't want to make that connection.
I think it's really hard to make that connection. Like I think we get caught in our own bubble of whatever our service or product is, right? And we make logical conclusions of like, hey, here's all the things we do. Can everybody see how this would solve their problem? And it might not, it's not that apparent. And people have 100 billion other things on their mind, right? Like, so if you can help build that bridge and show how we have the solution to X for them and make it very clear to them, you're taking some cognitive load off their head.
Nice.
And, making it a little bit easier to understand what you're doing and how you can help.
I need that in my life. Less cognitive load.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to make a t-shirt that says that.
Totally.
You mentioned earlier a little bit about really getting down into this one, we'll call it a segment. Like, how many segments should we investigate? I mean, is there just one segment? Does it make sense to outline 4? How do we determine if we're really picking that one thing that one problem that we solve? Isn't that just one segment?
I think it's so contextual. It depends on your current customer base, right? Patterns emerge as far as like who they are. Like, oh, look at this. We have this let's say it's industry based. Like we have a product that fits like 2 very distinct industries that don't have a lot of overlap, but we have a product that helps them with that. Like there's your 2 segments.
I've got a good example for this. Cast iron skillets.
Okay.
That's a really interesting thing because I think there's 2 very distinct segments to that.
Okay. That
they could market to. One, of course, is the old fashioned, outdoors person that camps. And I just want something I can throw in the camper and throw on a fire, and doesn't matter if I could throw it in the lake and pull it out 2 years later, scrub it off and use it again. It's just the most sturdy, timeless piece of cooking gear.
Totally.
Then you've got now, I think, another segment of people that are very culinary masters. They love to cook. They love to create fine dishes in their own home. And they might look at there's an exclusive feature to cast iron skillets that you cannot get out of other. You can heat that thing up to 700 degrees and throw on a piece of fish or something and just sear it instantly. And there's a whole different storyline behind that that does not relate at all to outdoors person, camper person, right? So that's an example of where you could look at your product or service line, really dive down and identify this is being used by these 3 different types of people that are very diverse for these specific reasons, and then there's your segments. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's definitely a very clear way of looking at it. Yeah. I think everyone's going to be different, but I think if you can look and draw a circle around, like if you pull out all the themes from your customer list and like what are these different things, like maybe you just realize that most of our customers are CEOs, and then hey, there's a segment there like that oh, hey, we are a fit for the decision makers here. their problems are going to be different than maybe somebody who's a little bit further down the chain, let's say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're not just, they're looking for somebody to get the thing done. They're not looking for support or
remove risk, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't want, they're looking at the risk factor behind this decision.
Yeah.
And the person doing the thing might be like, I'm looking at efficiency side of things.
Yeah.
You know, like I need this piece of software or this service.
Yeah. So titles, it might be titles. It might be industries. It might be, maybe if you've got a product line where everything's kind of seems integrated to you, but you've got certain people who are only using this one product, and you compare that to the other product. If there's a disconnect there, like maybe those are segments or like buckets that you could throw people into. I think it's really doing a deep dive in your customer list, evaluating everything, probably writing a bunch of them up on a whiteboard or on a big sheet of paper or something, and just try and look for some of these connections and like logical groupings of those things might help you. It'll help you at least start going in the right direction as you go to the next steps.
You get into it, you can start just one small camp. If you're just starting out or just looking at, okay, we're going to like ramp up our marketing or our advertising efforts around these things to kind of build. So just pick one and just work on that.
Yeah.
And then test it and optimize it and then move on maybe to the next one.
Yeah.
When we talk about kind of tactical strategies around these things. What other ways can we go and find more information about these audiences?
So I think probably the best thing you can do when you're trying to get a better picture of who your audience is to interview your current customers. So if you've got this list of people and you've identified your segments or whatever, look at your best customers in those things, like interview them. Like doesn't take a lot of time. Like you could spend 15, 30 minutes, 15 seems a little short, but maybe 30 minutes with each one. Right. And the funny thing about interviews and everything is you don't have to, I'm not talking about doing like 40 of these things, right? Like you could probably get to around 5 and you're going to start hearing some of the same things from each one of them, right? Like, and those are gold. The stuff you hear from that is because you're getting it right from them. They're the people who are already buying and using your services. They know they've made that jump. They don't have as much cognitive load anymore because they clearly understand what is there. But you can see how you've helped them, and you can figure out, like, I think a lot of like success language, like where they're on the other side of it. What value do we bring to you? And you can kind of almost flip that on its head, those success messages, to figure out where they were before. Yeah. And then come up with more of that problem related language. 2 points. One is emphasizing again, and I think we've mentioned this before, 5 is a really magical number. If you're looking to reserve, resources, preserve resources, and find out as much information. When we've done like user testing and talked to customers or done testimonial research around, it seems like once you get to 5, everything else fits in those whatever categories have kind of been already established within those first 5. Everything else fits into those same buckets. So I feel like there's the big problem or the big themes come out right away. There's going to be a whole bunch of little things that might fit into the other things, or they might be a more like that person was having a bad day type comment. It's not necessarily reflective of everything, but the clear patterns emerge very quickly. So that's a good way for small marketing teams to really not have to spend a lot of resources to get really good, solid gold stuff. Second thing is doing that. If you can get somebody and record them on video, just uttering the words, "I love what you do because you've solved this problem for me and my life is so much better because of it, this transformation that your product or service has done." Throw that on the website. Copy the text. Like that's just valuable gold stuff that you can. I think you could check a lot of marketing boxes by spending that 30 minutes with somebody. We'll interview somebody and we'll get ideas for what we need to be doing in the future. Like you said, we've got this kind of canned testimonial. And even if the person doesn't want to be like recorded on video or put up on the website,
Right.
you at least have a transcript of what they said. You can kind of mold it to something that's more website friendly and run it by them. Say, hey, after our call, this is what we kind of took away. Would you mind if we promoted this on our website or in our marketing materials? And I don't know, we did this recently, and everyone I talked to was like, yeah, oh no, that'd be great. I'd love to help. And so that 30 minutes pays a lot of dividends.
Yeah, it's super valuable. And it kind of closes that loop. It's like you're beginning to do the research.
Yep.
You get all the data that kind of inform future efforts, but you've also captured now what the value really is, and then you can loop that back into the end of the process and use that as evidence to why we're talking to people like this, or why it's important to you to look at us for this reason. It's really valuable stuff there. So.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the best, absolute best things,
I think we've talked about too, like pattern matching with other companies that have done similar things, or big giant companies. I know that you've done a lot of around web user experience stuff. There's some great resources online that other gigantic providers have put out there that's just like, okay, well, let's follow that pattern with our little spin on it.
Yep. And
that's a good way of kind of also speaking to that audience that might match a similar customer.
Yeah, I think with a lot of things, and I've applied it more with user experience stuff, but like if there's a big company or a big place where that they've put a priority on user experience testing and they have huge user experience teams, they've done a lot of the hard work already. It's like, see what you can to, like, you can borrow things from that and kind of remix it into your own version. Kind of, I call it like end around. Like you're doing an end around. You're not doing all the deep research and collecting all the surveys and all the data and everything.
When you're doing digital ads, ordering Google ads, or setting up a LinkedIn campaign or things like that, the questionnaire is like 14 miles long. I mean, you have like 85 questions. Like, do they like coffee at 4 a.m. or do they like, there's so many detailed things that you got to fill out on those things,
creepy,
right?
Yeah, but yes.
So, I mean, what about I don't want to get into the tactics of setting those things up, but what about looking at those questions and then taking that as almost a template for you to go back and fill in? Because that might be part of your, and we're not going to get into tactics, but that might be part of your tactics is to buy some ads on LinkedIn, buy some ads on Google. Look at those questionnaires, look at the detail they have around their audience, reconstitute it for you and see if you can fill that stuff out pretty easily. And it might be 3 or 4 different things.
As a guy who spent a lot of time trying to like get the right audience definition in LinkedIn for ads recently, I'm just imagining a 20-page questionnaire of all the things and filling it, and like you trying to fill that in.
Like a Scantron SAT test.
And some of them might not be relevant and everything like that. So I think it could be, if there's something on a smaller scale where there is this kind of like, let's start with the end in mind type thing, what the key pieces you need, and then working backwards, I totally see how that could work. But like some of those things, they are so granular and so, which it's wild.
Which when you talk large scale marketing and advertising campaigns, they live in that data world.
You can do things to like capture your own data, and ideally your own data is more pristine and reliable. But if you're relying on other people's data.
Well, and think about scales of gigantic advertising campaigns. That's where the segmenting and it gets so granular. Like they've got 25 personas potentially that they're talking to.
Oh gosh.
Which doesn't apply to our audience. That's we're trying to just identify 1 to maybe 4 at the very most, right?
I think I think the goal is to get as specific as possible with what's the minimum viable amount of audiences, right? You can always build on top of there, but if you feel like you're saying everything to everyone, that's the problem we're trying to really diagnose here, right? Like figure out what's the how specific can you get and still apply to, as many people in
enough
your
of a
audience.
market.
Yeah.
That pays the
and then
bills.
if the specifics start knocking some people out of your, ideal market, then that's probably another test to be like, yeah, okay, well, we need to have different messaging
Another
for
segment.
this thing here.
Yeah.
But it's all about the specifics and minimizing that cognitive load.
Virtual water coolers.
Yeah.
This was something I saw that you had mentioned in the notes for this. What exactly does that mean?
So I think if you're, we talked a little bit about like, well, if you use your customer base as your starting point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're trying something new, or maybe you're a new company, or new product offering or something, or maybe you're like you think there's an application for your thing to a market that you haven't utilized yet, right? Like, I think there are virtual water coolers out there. And when I say that, I mean like Reddit pages, Facebook groups, things like that, where people that might meet your ideal profile, they're actively discussing things, right? You can look into those and see a lot of like problem language and things that people are kind of sorting, trying to solve and everything like that. So I think that's a really, really easy way to kind of get an idea of, what your customers' needs are.
Part of that research, you want to have your sales team involved, I would think, right? Because they're on the front lines of a lot of this.
Any frontline people, like I'm assuming in some marketers aren't on the front lines, right? They're not talking to customers all the time. And the people who are the people who are trying to sell your stuff, and the people who are dealing with people who have sold it, right? Like they know the customers pretty well. There's probably a lot of like, oh, if I had a dime for every time somebody mentioned that, like that's gold right there. Like if the salesperson can say that, and you're like, oh, that's something we should be talking about. That's something we should try. That's a need that we should be trying to fill.
Well, in customer service, like you said, like if the people are calling about, oh, this shoe, it's got, it really hurts at the top here, and you get 85 calls for that. Not only is that like, okay, a marketing and a messaging issue, but that's also like an R&D thing too. I mean,
it could be, yeah.
I would imagine it's really critical to have those people involved, giving you that.
As many people that are talking to your actual customers on a daily basis, the better. For sure.
And it can help evolve a lot of pieces to the business as well. Okay. We can't, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, every episode we bring it up, AI.
Yeah.
How does that apply to this process? What have you seen or used?
I mean, if you think back to it, like AI is hoovering up all of the content and information that is available online. Staggering amounts of stuff, right?
Yes.
Like there's a pretty darn good chance that the information you want to know about your customers has been synthesized by all this stuff.
Okay.
So I think, especially if you're trying something new or you want to test out something, AI can be a really good tool to get a sense of what's going on there. Like, let's say you do have a customer kind of defined, like, and you want to know, what are their wants, what are the needs, what are problems they face. Ask AI. You're going to get a list. There's actually more, like in ChatGPT, there's some of these custom GPTs where they're all about like persona, builders or something like that, right? They will even coach you through questions that to get more data out of it. But even if you don't want to go searching for those, and you just to say, hey, I have this customer, fill in what you know about it. It's like, what are some potential pain points they have in their day-to-day work?
That's a good tip. Yeah, exactly.
And it'll give you a list. It'll give you a pretty darn good list, and you can kind of vet it after that. I wouldn't take it as gospel, but you can vet it and go, yeah, that seems really true. That seems true. That seems true. And kind of file that away, or kind of iterate on that a little bit more. What's the next logical thing to dig down into that? Like
pulling on those threads within.
Like, like, oh, that pain point sounds like they don't really have enough time. Our product would be able to do this and this. How do you think that would help them? And then get more. And it's just, I think it's a really good research tool there for being able to get a sense of who they are, devoid of having a customer list to work on or salespeople to work with. Like you might be in an industry where that's not really apparent. So digging into those.
And another way to do it, I love the idea of asking it questions because I think, or having it ask you questions, because I think that that's really one of the more valuable things that refine the results that I get out of those tools, is start with presenting your problem, your question, and then asking it to ask you really relevant questions that help it refine its answers down. There's really interesting, threads that we talk about that AI has a really, if you send it out to look for that stuff, it can come back with some really pretty revolutionary kind of thinking around that stuff. But again, apply your filters and review.
And what I like to do with that, let's say if you've gone through this work, you've interviewed everybody, you've talked to your customer service people or your salespeople, you've looked at the virtual water coolers and you've clearly defined who that audience is. I think documenting that, like you'll see online, there's a lot of persona tools or something like that. And I don't know if you have to get that fancy on things, but if you can clearly define who that customer is and those problems, their wants, their needs in some kind of document and have that available, you can, to your point with the AI thing, AI is getting to the point where it can remember a lot of those things too. Or if it doesn't, having in a document that you could upload along with your request and say, hey, refer to this persona for this as I'm working on this. It'll help with a lot of your other next steps as you're trying to take this audience definition and work with it.
It keeps it front and center in its brain as it's helping you to go through the process. But it's really important, and I think this is one of those tips. If you're worried about AI stealing your stuff, pay for ChatGPT, because then you can isolate it, build a moat around it that's only your data set, that doesn't get out into other marketing efforts, and then it still is a little bit more purely yours.
I would just check with whatever your tool of choice is and look and see what their policies are for that.
We love it, we hate it. It's this push-pull that we'll probably always live with any.
And I don't know. I know a lot of these things, like when it comes to like defining an audience and what their problems are, you're really like, I don't think you're doing it. For us and the level we're at, we're not doing anything groundbreaking there. We're trying to
we're innovating every damn day.
We're innovating humanity, huh?
Yeah.
New spins on humanity.
We're reinterpreting humanity.
Humans are humans.
Maybe that's our tagline.
What's that?
Reinterpreting humanity.
Wow. I don't know how.
Just throwing it out there.
I don't know if I have the brain power to even help with that.
Don't worry about it. I got it.
Good.
Me and the robots will take care of it.
All right.
We'll reinterpret humanity. Is that what I just said? Reinventing? Oh, reinventing humanity.
Yeah.
That sounds a little more challenging, but I'm up for
very
it.
challenging.
Yeah. What is that, like a DNA code change switch thing?
That's where I'm going on. It just feels like we're
headed for alien Romulus type.
I don't want to get too dark, but maybe it's already happened. Social media has changed us. It's reinventing our humanity.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely done that. Mike?
I'm back.
Or right. Is it Mike?
We need to, but we need to.
Okay.
I didn't reboot or anything.
You're not a robot.
I was just dumping out the profound sadness I had for a second. And it's gone.
Okay. It's like when you shut the computer down and turn it back on again, and then everything seems to
clears everything out. Hey, all right, here we go. Let's do this.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, let's recap then.
Okay.
Identifying who's your audience.
Yeah.
We want to go into, I think first, obviously you look at your customer base and you refine that list down to your most profitable or whatever makes most sense for your business, right? You want to optimize for that specific customer, not so much all of your customers, the ones that make the most sense for your business.
Yep.
We also want to talk to them. We want to have customer service and sales teams also that do most of the interface maybe with the customer base, get their input on things.
Yeah.
Really define it down, very detailed description of what problems we're solving for this customer.
Yep.
What pain we're taking away.
Yep.
We have a bunch of tools that we can use for this. We can kind of reverse engineer some of the questionnaires around ad campaigns within Google and LinkedIn. See, yes, there's way too many questions that they ask, but that's kind of relevant information that you could then kind of import into maybe a questionnaire or outline our audience as this person or these sets of persons. Potentially we want to segment too, because your product or service,
if warranted, I think when you're evaluating your customer list or your aspirations for your ideal customer, that'll become more apparent, but I think it's more like this whole exercise is about just saying I help these people is not enough to know your audience. You got to go deeper. You got to be more effective. You can't just back to the whole thing. You can't talk about features. Your features of your product. You have to talk about how you can make your customers' lives better by using this product and message that. And the only way you're going to effectively do that is getting down to the specifics. It's all about reducing that cognitive load.
Oh, wow. I've got way too much cognitive load right now. I can feel it. I need to have a watch that tells me how much cognitive load I've got right now.
It's not on your ring.
Maybe it's on my ring. I need to go investigate that. The statistics.
Yeah. Your brain is working overtime.
Yeah. Doesn't take much. We've got some tools that we talked about, kind of reverse engineering questionnaire and stuff, but there's also interviews and talking and testimonials and all those things. But then we talked about AI as well.
Yeah.
AI can be helpful. Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah. Kind of putting everything in, having it ask you questions. That's a really great way to do that.
But I still think that the AI thing should be one of these last things when you don't have access to a customer base or something like that. When you don't have some of these other alternatives, I would definitely, because you're going to get a more accurate picture of of what makes you special from your existing customers than any generalized AI response that you'll get.
And everybody's special. Okay.
We're all companies are snowflakes.
That's right.
Yep.
Unicorns.
They all have their own dysfunctions and things that make them great. They're all,
Yeah. And AI will just give you this kind of blah answer if you don't really get in and have it, help you.
That's what works for everybody else. Then you got to figure out how to make it your own.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to go reduce my cognitive load, Mike.
Sweet.
Yeah. I think we can call an end to this podcast.
Right, just wipe it all out.
That's right. Just go.
All right. Clear.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
See you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. For more information and other episodes, subscribe to the Marketing Team of One podcast on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify podcast networks. You can also chat with us on the r/Marketing Team of One subreddit or visit marketingteamofone.com to learn more.